I've sung the praises of Made In Cookware for a while now. I own many pieces myself. Now Made In has changed nonstick cookware for good with their ceramic-clad pans. They're premium stainless pans with next-gen ceramic coating free of harmful materials. Beautiful, even cooking, and easy to clean. It's even oven safe up to 550 degrees. How do I know how great they are? I added one to my kitchen. Don't need a nonstick pan? Made In has pots, cutlery, bakeware, glassware, and everything you need. Take your home cooking to the next level by upgrading your cookware by going to unitedwedrink.com/madein, MADEIN. Find out why pros trust Made In. Go to unitedwedrink.com/madein and upgrade your kitchen and cooking today. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour, more like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich. I'm joined by Kevin Abbott, and Tim Johnson is on assignment tonight.
Tim will not be joining us, but I do have a question for you. When you say something like welcome to a new episode, do you feel like that might be misleading for people who are like going back and listening through the back episodes? Like you're lying to them because it's not new anymore?
Yes, I am well aware of that
Okay.
I could be misleading people, and good.
Take that, listener. We tricked you.
Aha, Jim, you got fooled. How you doing?
I'm good, man. We were just talking just before we went on the podcast that me and my family are going to spend some time with my my brother and sister-in-law and their new baby this weekend. So getting away for a little mini summer vacation just for 3 or 4 days. So I'm really looking forward to that. And other than the fact that there's no baseball on right now, so I'm itching for my next Tigers game because it's the middle of the All-Star break. I'm doing okay.
Yeah, funny thing about the All-Star break, I know that the game was at the time of recording this, the game was last night, and I saw someone that I follow on Blue Sky go, Javi Baez, All-Star center fielder. Who would have ever thought that would be a thing?
In fairness, for all the baseball fans out there, Baez is having a great year. He probably shouldn't have been an all-star. His production has kind of tailed off in the last month or so. He doesn't have much power. He played really good defensive center field, and he's a big name because people love Javi Baez because of the excitement that he brings to the game. But I'm really happy he had a chance to do it because he was. The last time I went to a Detroit Tigers game in Detroit was last year against the Twins. He was booed every time he came to bat. Every time he came to bat, he was booed because he was one of the worst qualified hitters in baseball. And a year later, he's an all-star. And even if he didn't deserve to be an all-star, he had, he was hitting 280 and playing really good defensive center field and shortstop. So, amen. Thank you, Javi Baez. If you never get another hit in your Tigers career, we appreciate you.
Much more deserving of an all-star than Clayton Kershaw. And a lot of maybe some other people too, but we're not going to get into why the all-star game is kind of dumb like that. But
let's just turn this into yet another baseball podcast. I think we've set the precedent, so we should just go for it.
But I will say, my boy Schwarber, MVP, 3 fucking bombs in the tiebreaker to win it for the NL. Pay that man the money. Pay that man the money. I want to see him be a Philly for the rest of his career. That's I love that guy so much. He's a bomb king. I love him. Um, what are you drinking tonight, Kevin?
So I'm starting off with the Sunshine City IPA by Green Bench, which is absolutely
Very
delicious
nice. Yeah.
and a incredible brewery. I mean, they really do. I just featured them on Old Favorite Friday a week or so ago with this beer, and I was just praising them because everything they do is so good. I mean, from
Mm-hmm.
their Pilsner and, if they make a beer, it's going to be a good beer. Whether or not you like it or not, that's up to you, but it's going to be a quality beer. And then I got a couple other things, but I did try the new, at least new to me, 12 pack of the Sierra Nevada Trail Pass that has their hazy IPA in the mix pack. And I know
The
we've
NA
just,
pack, right?
yeah, the NA pack, yeah,
Yeah.
the Trail Pass. And I had not tried the hazy before. And I know we had just talked about it maybe an episode or so ago about how every IPA, every non alcoholic beer, you always say, this is really good for an NA beer,
Yes.
right? This is really good for an NA beer, but it's
Yeah.
really good. It's a really tasty beer.
It's
And
in
the
my
hop,
fridge.
yeah, the hop profile is really dank and really strong. And I tried it and I said, wow, this is something I could really get into. So shout out to see. And also I think there's like a Mexican lager in there too.
It's it's a lime it's a lime fruit beer.
Okay.
So yeah, I've had that variety pack a few times. When it first came out into my local Publix, I picked it up because they didn't have any of the six packs available. Now my Publix only has the variety pack and the hazy in six packs. They
Hmm.
don't have the golden or the regular IPA anymore, which I'm fine with as long as I have one of them as a six pack. But yeah, I like the hazy a good bit. I could go back and forth on that or the regular IPA from the pack.
I think, I mean, the first thing I picked up when I smelled that thing was marijuana. Like it, to
Yeah,
me,
it
it
is
smell
very dank. Yeah.
it almost smells like they put like marijuana, like terpenes in it. I mean, it is so potent. So I thought it's listen. I love the fact that a great brewery like Sierra Nevada is kind of leading a charge and doing these different styles. I mean, I know there's a lot of IPAs, right? But continuing to experiment with them, and I think make some really really good beers.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you, dude?
I am having some a Scusi from Civil Society. It's an Italian Pilsner that I'm going to say, don't make nearly as often as they should because this is a fantastic beer. It's like a moderately dry hopped Pilsner that is like a little bit hazy. I know, for the people out there, I can't really, and also Kevin's not even looking, so who
Sorry, I just had
like
saw something
I'm
in the
holding it up for no reason. But this is such a delicious beer. Like it takes the idea of a German Pilsner and just like cranks it up a little extra with doing a dry hop on it.
Hmm.
And I love this style. I feel like that this is a style that should get more love out there. And I've been trying to convince my boss to brew one just as a one-off like for years now, and he just doesn't want to do it. And like I wish I could say like I'm gonna take a can of this in and make him drink this and be like, we could make something awesome like this, but I want to drink all of these myself. So chances of that are pretty low. But this is such a fantastic beer. It is one of my favorite beers from them, if not my favorite. So I am enjoying that. I have a couple cans of it here for me.
Maybe I should ask Brad because that's who I'm getting together with this weekend. Maybe he can bring me some. He can bring me one so I can try it.
Yeah, for sure. Their lager game has gotten considerably better. I will make no bones about it that in their early days of making lagers, they had some quality issues with some of them, but they're. I think last season you spoke highly of their Oktoberfest
Yeah,
and how
that was
much
really
you
good.
enjoyed that one. They do a dark lager every so often that is really good. So yeah, they've really stepped up their lager game quite well over there, and it's great to have it nearby to where I can pick up some. So for tonight's episode, we decided to do with football season's coming up. It's like I feel like it's like not three, fucking 5 to 6 weeks away at the point of recording this. With football season comes fantasy football. Fantasy is what we're going to do today. We're going to fantasy make our own bars of sorts.
Wow, you went around your elbow to get to your wrist on that one.
I am going. How do I? I can reach. I can reach. Now, so I came up with the idea of in today's kind of climate for beer, beverages, restaurants, and all of that. Also, with just the way I've been following friend of the show, Joe Plouffe, and his going through opening up a bar in Hartford, I wanted to be like, how would you make a bar in today's world? I don't want to get too crazy into this. We don't need to be picking out locations and being like that this is the exact clientele that I'm going for. But you know what? Like you don't have a specific amount of money. You can make a place how you want it to be. What type of aesthetic? What kind of drinks are you offering? Are you offering food? What kind of experience are you doing? So I just wanted to get fun. Like we're such downers here. I feel like a lot of times on this show. Let's get up. Let's have a good vibe. Let's create some places that aren't real, but have good vibes, in our opinion, for people to come and enjoy themselves. So, uh, I'll start things off because I feel like Kevin is a little thrown off by this whole thing, even though he
What-
knew that this was going to be the topic.
No. Before you get into it, I want to ask: Did we do any Chat GPT for any of this?
I did not.
Okay, I
No.
mean either. So I think it's an interesting concept to talk about, and we are always talking about how our beer fits into different bars and restaurants, and we're constantly talking about the bar business and how much they're adopting craft. I know you're talking about more than beer, right? You're talking about possibly food and cocktails, which is great because this is, as I think Tim's pointed out a bunch of times, and you as well. This is not United We Drink beer; it's United We Drink. But it's an interesting concept. I will say that I don't have a lot of specifics that I can put out there. I'm not going to give you a whole concept, but I do have some basic ideas about the kind of things that I think might work in 2025. But I'm very interested to hear, Mike, what you have. And I will say you will not have to carry this entire episode by yourself. Maybe only 85 to 90%.
I'm ready for it. I think I did some stretching before it came on the show. I didn't. I do not stretch nearly as much as I should for a person probably of my age. So my idea basically is, and I hate to steal this idea from friend of the show Joe Plouffe, but a like kind of corner neighborhood type bar, but a place that is not just for adults. It's open to anyone, families, because there will be food there. Um, the corner bar just it seems like a thing of creating community, being a true third space to me, especially in like your cities and more denser neighborhoods, a place that people can walk to, bike to, take a bus or whatever, and get to in a relatively easy way. Don't have to worry about driving, parking, drinking and driving. One of the funniest things that I have seen, I don't know, Kevin, are you familiar with the concept of the 15-minute city?
No.
Okay. Basically, it is a concept built around that people should have everything that they need and want in their lives within a 15-minute walk or bike ride from their house. Like being able to go to the grocery store, go to restaurants, go to their doctor's office. Everything should be in a relatively small, tight knit community that you can get to easily without having to get behind the wheel of a car. Uh, this is this is a great idea from like city planning and urbanist ideas, but of course the right have turned this into they think that it's a police state thing. Like, oh, they want you to stay within a zones and you're not allowed to leave your zones. And like, that's not the thing at all. So building into this idea of like having a local area that is built around your community, having your shops, having your actual needs there, that's something that the corner bar, corner restaurant, cafe, whatever, it just sounds so fantastic to me. So being that, starting off with that, and having a place that is inviting for all members of the family. After a certain time, we're a bar more based on the adults, and that's kind of the basis for this. So, like, this is what I would like to do is kind of start off with the concept of the building and what you want it to be, and then let's talk. Yeah, I'll pass it to you, and then we can talk beverages after that. We can talk food after that, so that we kind of have a little bit. I should have done this before we went on the air with you, but uh, tell me what type of building and aesthetic would you go for?
So it's funny you talk about that because I too, if I was opening something for that I liked, that I thought was something I would want to go to on a regular basis, what you're describing is what I would want to do. Not too incredibly high end, not pricing, being priced out of the market for most of the community, not being a destination place where it's going to be. How about this? Not a hype place that's going to be popular for 3 years and then no one's ever going to go to it again because the new flavor of the month came in across the street. Thinking about Atlantic Avenue and Delray Beach, right? You have these bars and restaurants that open up and they become like the hot spot because they've got some new cool visual aspect. And then it becomes passe and somebody else takes over. That's kind of what I like and what you're describing. But for whatever reason, when we talked about this, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about what is the place that's going to get the most eyeballs on your brand, that's going to get the most amount of buzz in your hometown or whatever it is. And I don't have a specific concept as far as, it's going to be beach themed or it's going to be forest themed or whatever that thing is. But I do love there's a bar in Meisner called Kapow, and they have multiple locations. They have one up in West Palm Beach, and they just opened one in Delray. And what I love about that is they have these beautiful LED boards all around the top of the bar, at least the one in Meisner. And that between that and the theming of the restaurant, it is gorgeous. And I don't really care about those things very much. Like I don't seek those out in most restaurants. But when I walked in this place, all I wanted to do was take pictures of it and show them to people. And I love that immersive aspect. It almost felt like I was going into Universal Studios or a Disney theme park. I felt like I was going into a themed area. And a lot of restaurants try to do that with like Italian food or whatever it is. They try to be themed, but I think with the technology we have nowadays, whatever they're doing with LEDs or projectors, I don't know how they got all those beautiful images that are rotating through the kind of the for lack of a better term, the ceiling or the walls near the ceiling. I would want to do something like that. I think something that is so visually stunning. One of the aspects of a bar that's so interesting is that we go out to be social, and then we end up sitting there drinking a bit. Not Mike, if you and I get together, we're going to talk all night because we just don't see each other very often, right? It's a time out for us. But think back to when you were going out on a regular basis, and you were young, no kids, and you had disposable income. How many times do you go sit at a bar and you're just kind of sitting there drinking a beer and looking around?
Plenty,
Right?
yeah.
That's what you do. Now, in a sports bar, it's great. You watch TV. You got the sport. You look around and you do the thing. having something that's so visually stimulating in a bar is such a draw in so many ways. And also, it really is kind of a word of mouth thing. Man, you got to go see this place. If you back that up with really, really good food and good cocktails and, a good overall experience, I think it's something that would be the kind of thing, an experiential place is what I would want to potentially do if I didn't go with the stripped down corner bar kind of thing that you're talking about. And for the sake of being different, that's what I would go with. I told you it's not a
Okay.
fully formed idea, and I apologize for that. I'm not
How
that
dare you,
creative.
Kevin? You don't come with a fully fleshed out business plan for this completely made up false business. How dare you? All right, so I like that. I mean, like you can definitely get a little fancy. You can get a little you can have a little bit of both of best of both worlds in that whole scenario. I'm trying to think because I've been to the Kapow in West Palm, but it's been a few years since I've been there. I don't think that they have something like that above their bar there, so that must be something unique to the
Well,
Meisner location.
the original spot in Meisner did not have that. They moved into a different spot in Meisner, basically switched locations and
Oh,
rebuilt
really?
out a whole different thing. And I did a food and beer pairing video there, and I was just blown away. It was so gorgeous. And there's like I like the fact that it seems to be like little Easter eggs in there. I like the idea of having something that is in some ways interactive, whether it be like, oh, find the 7 monkeys that are, situated throughout the bar and get a free beer or something. Something that makes that makes those downtime when you're not talking to somebody, when you're not interacting with people, interactive in some way, shape, or form. I think that can be a really fun idea. And if once again, you have to mix that with all the other aspects of good cocktails and good food and other aspects like you talked about. We're not going to talk about where it's going to be or what the budget is or what have you, but I think that in in a climate that is booze are always booze. Okay, bars are not. Bars in general might have seen a little bit of a downturn because the alcohol business is going down a little bit. But go into a well-populated area, people are drinking, right? We're not going to have a situation where people just stop drinking completely. But in a slight downturn of the alcohol industry, experiences are going to be more and more important. And that experience could be, as you said, Mike, just a community. We're here. There's a little putting green over here that the kids can play on, and there's this here, and maybe there's some pop-up shops over here that you have. That's going to be an experience. I think that you have to continue to kind of mold things in that direction to draw people's eyes and get people to say, "Oh, this is the place I'm going to spend my time."
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into that the experience, the kind of like miscellaneous uh items for the place in just a little bit. Let's talk booze. So my thought is I I'm going to say this initially as like I would like to have a stripped down basic menu, but probably by the time I finish saying everything, it's going to sound a little bit more in depth than than it actually is stripped down. Uh, 6 taps I want to have of draft beer. One constant, Allagash White, will be on all the time on one handle, and then the other 5 will be rotating offerings by style. I want to have an IPA, of course, a Pilsner, uh, some sort of dark offering, whether that be porter or stout, varying things in there. I would like to be able to do some old world type of stuff with that probably doesn't get a whole lot of love. A Belgian offering on one of the taps, always just kind of changing up from like, your triples, your doubles, your bigger quads, dark strongs, things like that, and then a sour beer. I would like to have some can offerings, probably leaning more onto the trendier macro side of things with like PBR, having like some tall boy lagers, maybe have high life bottles in there, and maybe every now and then some other craft options in there as well. So maybe another IPA or two in cans just to appease the IPA crowd. I would like to have a small but nice uh spirits list but also so have the classic cocktails. Focus on those. Old fashioned, martini, margarita, uh, stuff like that done the right way, classically, and maybe have a cheap booze for a can of beer and a shot. Do one of those citywide type of specials for people uh, in the evenings. A wine list that includes some like natural wine stuff because I know people like that. I like natural wines, so that I can get people
What are
of all
natural
flavors.
wines?
I don't really know, to be honest.
I worked
It-
as a wine steward for 10 years. I don't know what a natural wine is.
I'm okay. I'm going to look it up, but at the same time, I'm also going to give you what I think that it means. I'm thinking that it has some sort of basis on like organic. So let's see what this actually says when I look it up. Natural wine is simply unadulterated fermented grape juice with no additives in the winemaking process. So I guess no
So what?
sulfites.
So wine?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to have wine? Good job.
Um, like to have a nice NA selection as well. Like have those Sierra Nevada cans, have some athletic stuff. Be able to have styles that I have available in full strength also be available in NA for people. And that's like I said, I'm thinking of this as a very stripped down thing, but after saying all that, it doesn't really sound so stripped down.
It sounds very involved, and you're going to have a lot of options for people to choose. It, it is interesting because I've I always say that I never go out anymore, which is true compared to how often I used to go out when Allie and I did not have a child and when I was single. But in reality, we go on our date nights and we go to different places and we meet friends out. So I've experienced quite a few bars and restaurants in the last couple years that are brand new or in like cool new areas. We just we just had a little date night a week or so ago and we went to dinner at a great place, went to 2 or 3 bars afterwards. So we really experienced a lot of different places. When we're talking about what to carry, I almost feel like I'm echoing every single bar I've gone to recently. There's like 6 cocktails listed on the menu, and 4 of them are classic cocktails, old fashioned, Moscow Mule, what have you, martini, and 2 have like, some funky ingredients like a lychee something, something, something. And so what I'm going to say, I don't feel like is unique or interesting in any way because I think if you're who has gone out to bars and restaurants recently, you're just experiencing this everywhere. So it's definitely not going to be a draw necessarily. But I do like the idea of simplicity. I don't when I go out and I see a cocktail list, I usually get about 3 ingredients in and I go, okay, I'll just take the old fashioned. Because I get, oh, mezcal, oh, and this, and oh, and then some juice that I'm not interested in, or some liqueur that doesn't really strike me, or some extraneous ingredient that I'm like, I don't want that part of it. I like 2, 3, 4 ingredient cocktails, and that's what I tend to enjoy. And listen, I don't work for any of these places, so I don't know what their 80/20 rule is on their cocktails, but I would guess that a lot of people are drinking those simplistic drinks. So I would focus mostly on those. And if you have a bar and you have got a good bartender, you can make anything people ask for. So you make your cocktail list relatively simple with a couple rotating specials every now and then. I would want the bartenders specifically to be coming up with a monthly cocktail, something that they're passionate about, something they can push, something you can put their name on and say, hey, this month come in here for, you know, Dana's special martini or whatever it is, and get them involved in the creativity of it. I know how important that has been for me as a brewer to be involved in recipe creation and formulation. I know how much it's been important for Ralph, my head brewer now, because when he first started out as a head brewer, he didn't have a lot of pull in making beers, and he does now. And I know what that means to him. So it's different for a bartender, but it's still, it's adjacent. So I'd want to have something like that. As far as the beer list, I'd want to be relatively simple. I would not do a lot of rotating, honestly, because I think that mostly people are creatures of habit and they like to go for the things that they like. So I like the idea of having a couple drafts. I'd probably keep a good amount of package on hand, and it would just be classics. It would be beers that I know are extremely high quality. If you have one of these beers and you trust us, you're going to like it. It's Weihenstephaner Hefeweizen. It's the classics. It's the old favorite Friday of beer, of a beer menu. I would absolutely do that. And of course, as far as draft, I'd probably feature mostly local and wouldn't get too bogged down in the styles, other than making sure having an IPA and a lager on draft, and one, unoffensive macro to make sure that people don't feel like they've been kind of elbowed out. As much as I want to push the beer industry and the quality of craft beer, they're just people that are not going to indulge in it. And when they go in there, as I think you were saying, with like the kind of cooler macro lagers, when they don't see something like that, they feel nervous and they don't know what they're ordering, and then they just don't order anything, or they feel like the bar's not for them. So I think it's important to bring those people into the fold, and hopefully educate them, hopefully get them to learn to trust us and try this other lager or this pilsner and see if they like it. So a wine list, it would be simple. I don't think no bottles over, $60 really. I would keep things relatively inexpensive for that, understanding that we're going to have high quality. You can get a lot of high quality, low expense wines these days, and make sure it's curated. This is good. The people that have picked these out understand what they're doing, and you're going to enjoy anything that we have.
Yeah, I dig all of that. So let's talk food, because I think that that's a super important thing, to keep people give people a food option because they're hungry, to keep them there a little longer, to up their ticket prices, and just I feel like third places typically are food oriented. Food is culture. It brings people together, and I would go with a this one. I do want very simple for a menu. And one of my big influences into thinking with this is a place that I actually got to take you to, and that's my favorite bar in the entire world, Fountain Porter in Philadelphia. Uh, their menu was just cheeseburger, fries, pickles, cheese and meat boards. That was it. They had a vegetarian a saute burger. You could get no cheese on your burger if you so wish, but that's the way that I would go: is burger, veggie burger, hot dog, and you can get fancy with the toppings, or you can be very simple with it. Fries and a couple other sides, maybe like some homemade potato chips, something, maybe a mac and cheese, like something that kids will enjoy too, as well as adults, and just make that as bare bones as possible, but delicious, really well made, and try to keep it on the cheaper side of things. Like I when you and I went to Fountain Porter, their cheeseburger was $5. Fries were $3. in these times, it is now 6 and 4. So you can still get a cheeseburger and fries there for $10, which is fucking awesome. Um, Try to keep that price down as much as possible on a really high quality item, and yeah, that's what I would go for with food.
I mean, I love that. I really appreciate a menu that is really easy to navigate and doesn't have a lot of complexity to it. I think especially in a bar environment, it just makes it easy for people ordering, and they know what they're gonna get. They come back for that. If we're going down the avenue of that kind of experiential place to be, and unfortunately, I'm not gonna have a lot of great things to talk about here because the food would have to be themed towards whatever the theme was, right? If you were doing an Indian themed food menu, you'd have to have that thing going. I mean, Kapow is, they do, it's mostly, I believe, like Japanese inspired. I mean, actually, it's just Asian inspired, I would say, because they have Korean pork tacos, and I think they do some sushi here and there.
They have
Um,
pad thai.
yeah, so I think they do. I think that's probably the best way to say it would be Asian inspired menu. So that's where their theming is, right? So I'm not saying you do this, but if you did an Italian theme restaurant in the same way and you had, you know, images of, Italy going to the background, you'd have to do Italian food, right? So it would be, it's hard to come up with a food menu for there. I would say that if I was kind of divorcing myself from that idea and going for more simplicity, something that would be more interesting to me, I like handheld. I like sandwiches, wraps, easy things to kick out, utilize cross-utilize ingredients, and just make them really high quality. I mean, quite honestly, a place that you worked and my brother-in-law put together, Grace's Fine Foods, where he just had really great sandwiches. And I mean, it's not around anymore, so we're not talking about it's not necessarily the most successful concept, depending on the situation you're in. Maybe that's underfunding, maybe that's other things in the market, but I like that idea because there are certain things I told you that Ali and I went to a restaurant, and I can't remember the name of the place, but we had, like, Wagyu beef, served, like, sushi style and with, like, quail egg on the top of it, and it was absolutely delicious. It was fantastic. Everything we had at the place was amazing, but it was really complex, and it was really confusing for a lot of people, I would imagine, if they wandered in there for the first time and didn't know what to expect. I think that the person who has a disposable income to spend basically $25 on one bite of food will also really appreciate a $10 sandwich. Right? I think it's almost universal in that way. I think people with loads of disposable income can appreciate that, and I think people with very low amounts of disposable income can appreciate that. If you use high quality ingredients, I mean, people that go to our brewery and eat Chef Reed's burgers, which are not cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but they got crazy ingredients on them all the time, and I know some of these people are millionaires, right? People across the spectrum can enjoy stripped down simple foods. So I think leaning into that, however you do it, sandwiches, it's tacos, but in general, a relatively small menu that's easy to navigate, easy to find the thing that you love, with a couple specials thrown in here or there is kind of the way to go. And I know that's also not revolutionary. There's a million restaurants doing just that. So I'm not like I'm
There's a
coming up
reason
with
a
that.
million restaurants are probably doing that is because it works, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you get me. You bring back up Grace's Fine Foods, a place that, like, I worked at and I believed in, and it was one of those places that I'm like, this would do a killing in practically any city outside of Florida, and like
I
I
I
just
mean,
don't I or outside of
you
the South maybe, but
you
but
you
like
do an all day. He did an all day breakfast sandwich. I mean, an all day breakfast sandwich for a bar atmosphere. There might be a time period in the middle of the night where you are doing well with that, but you hit midnight and you're gonna sell 100 of those fucking things because it's getting late at night, people got a lot of alcohol in their bellies and, "Oh, yeah, I want this. I want a beautiful piece of sausage with egg and cheese and a great bun," uh, whatever, sriracha mayo or whatever else you wanna put on that thing. I think that's something that is, once again, it's universal. Who doesn't enjoy that kind of food?
Uh, robots. Robots
Sociopaths?
probably want to try it. Like the robots probably like, I am sad I cannot eat this. Uh, but yeah, I like that place. Anywhere else would have done fantastic, and he probably could have done the butcher shop thing too. And what what really, and I'm sure that it probably pisses Brad off a lot, is right around the corner from the West Palm location of Civil is a place doing that concept right now.
Mm.
Butcher shop, sandwich shop, all
Oh,
in
really?
one. You can walk there in 2 minutes from the front door of Civil's West Palm location,
Hmm.
and it must grind his gears that that place is right over there, basically doing what he was doing. I don't
Yeah.
know how well they're doing. I haven't been yet, but when I saw that just recently, like, what, what, like, but I digress. Uh, so let's talk about miscellaneous. Like, what are some other things to bring people in, keep people there? I talked about before with trying to be a somewhat family friendly type of place during the days, and I think as well, uh, with that, I'd like to have like these somewhat curated specific nights. Like, I'd love to have a vinyl night where there is just only I mean, we probably could just play vinyl at any time if you have the system set up for it. But have a very specific vinyl curated night with like the bartender's choices on, like, this is what we're playing tonight. I would even, because of myself, have like a heavy night, like probably some weekday night with hardcore metal. Like, okay, after 8 p.m., it's gonna get loud in here. Um, uh, I would like to have uh, game nights or book club nights. There was this thing that I saw a few breweries doing that was just like mind-boggling to me how they can do it. I don't know if it would necessarily work for this type of environment, but a quiet night uh, where they don't have music on and you just come in. They invite come in and read a book, come in and like talk to people. Like I brought this up before. I don't know if on this show, but I think to you and definitely with Joel when we had an idea for a concept for a brewery was having a night where you have to give your phone to participate in this whole thing. Like, we'll give it back to you when you leave, but like it's like one of those like, give your phone, go in. There's no music playing or very low music playing. Talk with people. No TV. It's just a social thing. Get to know people in your community. Get to know other people into beer, and just have this very social thing going on. Um, Playing with ideas like that to make people interact. I mean, not make you, not forcing anyone who comes in to do it, but like create these circles where people who are new to neighborhoods are always like, where do I go to meet people? How do I integrate? Like, feel like people like that are always looking for places, and creating something like that, maybe a once a quarter type of event. Like if you're seeing here, it's about bringing communities together, bringing different types of people who are into different things and making sure that they know that, hey, this is a place for you. We have a night for you. And even when it's not that night, you can still come in and have a great time at our place because we want to be open to you, our community.
So, this is where I'm going to be really boring here, because what I want to do for the bar that I own, the restaurant that I own, if I like all the things that you're saying, I just don't know how profitable any of that will be. Like, I would worry about doing that and driving people off, because if someone shows up on a random Wednesday and they great things about your burger or your whatever, and it's a quiet night or it's a hardcore night, they might walk in there and go, "This place isn't for me," and never come back. When you change up the theming significantly from night to night, you don't foster confidence in a business. And there are places that, like, they hang their hat on, we're a hip hop bar, right? We do all 90s and 2000s hip hop, and that's great. Although some people are just never going to go in that bar, no matter how good the food is, no matter how good the beer is, it's not for them. You kind of shrink your audience, but that's fine. If you have enough people in that geographic area, you can be really successful. When you're doing a lot of different things and someone who has people pitch them all the time, "Hey, we want to do trivia in your bar." I don't want to do trivia in my actual brewery, because I've got regulars on that night that are not going to want to participate and are going to be annoyed by people doing trivia. And we found that just not doing stuff has actually been more successful for us. Now, there's a difference between being wildly successful and that being your only motivation, and doing something you love and you're passionate about. And maybe I'm jaded, or maybe I'm too much of a money hungry asshole. But when I think about this, I'm like, what's going to bring the most amount of people consistently and make them regulars and coming as often as possible? So I worry about the theme nights making that more difficult. I do think that I would want to do some of the things you're talking about, but I would want to have them more in a private space. I think you'd have to have a decent sized place, right? And you'd be sacrificing regular bar area. But if you had an area where you could close off and sit 50 people in it comfortably with an extra sidebar, and you essentially have a private event space that you can run your music night in, or trivia or what have you, you can kind of have the best of both worlds, because you can be the place you go for those things, and also, you know, breed consistency in your regular customer. It looked
Yeah,
like you wanted to say something.
no. I was just agreeing with your train of thought there. So if you cut yourself off because you thought I wanted to jump in, please continue.
Oh, so one of the things that, and this is, we're not talking, what I am at risk of doing this entire time is not coming up with one concept. I think that's what I've kind of done, is that I said things that I like about each one of these things, these ideas, but not really come through with a fully formed plan, which quite honestly, I think I'm doing a great job for not having a lot to bring to the table here. But I've always loved the idea. There was I'm going to butcher this because it's been 20 years since I read this book. I use the nom de plume of Myron Brundage on social media. I don't really follow anyone. I'd never posted on any social media, but that's my fake name that I use to follow Barrel of Monks and to kind of, stalk around social media to see what's going on. Myron Brundage he called himself the head janitor of the College of Complexes in Chicago. And I want to say this was around dang it, my dad's listening to this. He's going to be embarrassed that I don't know this off the top of my head, but I want to say it was the 1940s. And it was a free speech place. It was a place where speakers could go and talk about anything they wanted to. And the only rule was you had to let them talk. You couldn't shout them down. You could get some questions afterwards. But this is where they were talking about communism, and this is where they were talking about socialism, and this is where we were talking about capitalism, and in front of audiences that were sometimes hostile towards those ideas. But it was a place it was a free exchange of ideas. And I've loved that since the moment I've read the books on it. There was also called the Hobo College. And something my dad introduced me to. And I would love to have something like that. More and more, as time has gone on, I realize that happened because we no longer can have discourse about things in this country. You can know it's no longer okay to disagree with somebody. And we have to be so marginalized and so all or nothing in our thinking. And we don't even entertain the fact that we could be wrong. That's maybe the most poisonous thing about society is that we don't even think, oh, wait, am I wrong? That doesn't happen nearly often enough. But that would be something that personally I'd be passionate about, that I would love to foster at some point. But I think that would be me trying to do something I love, and instead of just doing something I love, trying to make a business out of it, and that not being something that would be workable.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, yes, the all of these things are like Barrel of Monks is a business. It is all of these fake ideas are a business. Like your goal is to make money to stay open. And maybe the things that you love don't always translate into opening a business around them. I've seen and heard people say that about beer plenty of times. Like, okay, especially with the home brewers, is like, okay, you love doing this. You don't want to open a business for this. Like, you don't know how to open a business. You don't know how to run a business. And we've all seen people who weren't told that, or maybe were told that and just ignored it and opened up breweries, and those don't exist anymore. Um, I mean, but at the same time, we've seen people who were smart and opened up breweries that aren't open anymore too. So, but yeah, not everything that you are passionate about necessarily has to become a business for you. Like passion projects is a saying for a reason. Hobbies are a thing. But yeah, very true.
One thing that you've said, Mike, and that I just love, and I do think that this is both good for the bar owner if they're passionate about it. It's good for the community, and you can actually use it to be profitable. When you talk about being a part of the community, being in a walkable area, uh, y- there is there's a I don't know if they're still there, Gatlin Hall in Orlando, that they had like 3 food stalls inside their brewery, and they would kind of rotate these food stalls, which theoretically sounds great. I don't know how great it actually is because once again, people don't get comfortable with one thing and then it goes away and then they don't have the food they like and then people don't make enough money and then blah blah blah. It's hard to rent them out. I think it has its own problems, but the idea there for me is bringing in vendors and having dedicated spaces where, your vinyl record seller can have a spot in there and maybe rotate that through to give other little things for people just kind of walk around and do. Once again, when they're bored, when there's nothing else to do, you have other things and you're supporting local small businesses trying to do things there. I like that idea. I also believe in philanthropy, in having maybe every Thursday night, 15% of the dollars that come into this place go to one of these local charities. And every Thursday you have a different charity that you do that for. You keep it local and you're supporting local schools. I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, I remember going the first time I ever went to an Applebee's. They have all the crazy shit on the walls, but every Applebee's I went to would have, like, they were supporting, like, the local little league team and have, like, the pictures up on the wall of that little league team that they were supporting and they gave money to. I'd do stuff like that, and not in an Applebee's corporate way, but say, "Hey, listen, we have West Boca baseball. Every year give $2,000 to West Boca baseball and put the championship team's picture up there and rotate it every single year and do fundraisers for things like that." Get people that are already in that area to know that you're there for the long haul, willing to give back to those people and be a part of their lives. And I think it's expensive, and if for a business that is starting up and might not have that much capital and needs to make money right away, and is probably going to struggle through the ups and downs of the summer when in South Florida, no one is making any money. it might be difficult. But I think if you made that your business plan and you were funded for 3 to 5 years for it, I think the roots that you would put down in that community would eventually allow you to grow. And I think that in a selfish way, your business gets bigger, and but in a community way, you're giving back.
Fucking love that. Like I adore that. Like, I have struggled at times as being a marketing person, working in booze, on being like, where is the right line to be with like getting involved with kid related stuff. And I like I've always thought that it would be so cool to be like one of those like jersey sponsors for a
Yeah.
like a little league team. Like when I was a kid, every one of our teams had some local business on the back of like above, instead of a name above your number, there was a local business, Tony's Pizza or A&S Bagels, like someone business was on there, and they would have the signs out in the outfield, like that went all along the fence
Hmm.
out there. And I'm like, is it wrong of us to be a booze company and want to give to our community? And like ultimately I always get to, no, it's not wrong. Like we want to give to our community. Like like sure there would probably be some parents that are fucking pissed off about something like that, because there's always going to be people who are mad about something. But I like, if you ultimately look at it like, hey, this company paid money to this little league organization to help pay for jerseys, help pay for whatever, to keep this thing going. And I just absolutely love your idea of being involved in that way. By the way, Gatlin Hall does not exist anymore. They closed last year, uh, and their space has been taken over by another brewery.
Oh, wait, what's the name of the brewery?
Runabout Brewing.
Hmm. I already don't like it. But that's the knee-jerk reaction. I'm sorry, Runabout. I honestly, and I only visited there once, and I met their brewers. I can't even remember where it was, but everything they did, I loved. They made a lot of lagers. That was kind of their specialty. This place, Mike. They made an amazing Dortmunder. I, it was one of my favorite breweries I'd been to in the state of Florida. Period. It was so good. And it just goes to show you, and it's this, example 5,433. You can be great at what you do, make the highest quality product, and you're not necessarily going to be successful, which is a shame.
Was it when you were there for the Florida Brewers Conference? No.
It might have been when Ellipsis was still open and they were doing their little special release every year of sour doing. I think it might have been then when we met them originally, but
I
I
do
can't
remember
remember.
when you came back from that trip and you were praising them very highly. And it really sucks because I feel like the Orlando area has lost a lot of good breweries. Like one, I never got a chance to go to them, but I've had their beer. Deadwords was another brewery. They won GABF medals for their lagers, and uh they barely lasted, I think, like 2 or 3 years. And when I've seen their space, it was such a beautiful space. They had one of those flip boards that you would see at like train stations, where the all the numbers and letters flip over to change like what the upcoming like departures and arrivals are. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, they
Yeah.
had that behind their bar for their menu board. And they like, everyone was dressed prim and they had the smocks on. They looked like mixologists, like really like wood heavy, like looked like a cocktail bar in the type of place, like just beautiful looking setting. And they made fantastic beers, but they could barely make it work in the Orlando area too. But I know real estate is high and all that fucking shit
I
there.
mean, listen, please see every episode we've ever done for reasons why that has happened. But I think when we're talking about this specifically, is that these are the reasons why you can't necessarily make your business a vanity project. It's the reasons why you can't necessarily, in reality, do all the things you want to do unless your things are really universal. Or there's a population that's really hungry for the thing that you're interested in. That i- you need that's why market research has to be done. That's why you know you have the best Indian food restaurant in the world, but you put it in Ludington, Michigan. You're not going to make money because no one in Ludington, Michigan wants to eat Indian food. And and I haven't been to Ludington, Michigan for 30 years. So excuse me, maybe it's the most progressive place in the world. Now I have no idea. But I'm just saying there are limitations. There are limitations. There are limitations to what you can do. And you have to maximize your potential by being consistent. And by doing, I think, Mike, you have been echoing the be part of the community thing for as long as I've known you. And I don't think it's ever been more important to do that. And I think you have to find new and interesting ways to do it. And there's some very simple ways that people just find to be too prohibitively expensive. But if you build that into your costs and say, this is just what we have to do, you might have a way to be a success, because once you become that institution, you at least have 10 years of goodwill you can ride on. And usually that's enough to be profitable enough to maybe sell the business eventually, get out and not have lost any money. And it made, you had your business for 10 years. Good for you. And I did something special and I paid my people and everyone for 10 years felt good. And now it's failing because there's 25 new restaurants that open up across the street.
All right. So, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else to this fantasy perspective of opening up my ideal bar that I would add in there, but I don't really think of anything, or I can't really think of anything. I don't words very well. Kevin, anything for you?
No, I have so many places that I go to. There's a speakeasy wine room in downtown Delray Beach, which is just this tiny little speakeasy bar. They serve your cocktail in a bird cage filled with green glowing lights. That is a thing that I have received. I ordered a drink and they gave me a bird cage full of green glowing lights. It was ridiculous to look at. The cocktail was amazing. It's as Instagrammable as anything you've ever seen in your life. And I look at this place, I go, I want to own this place. I want this place because these people are taking so much time and energy that goes into this, but you just don't know how sustainable it is. And so my mind runs wild of all the things that I want to mash up to make this work or that work. But I really do believe that simplicity is key. As much as I love craft beer, I wouldn't go too crazy with craft beer. As much as I love all these crazy cocktails, I wouldn't go too insane with those. I'd keep things simple. People are creatures of habit. For the most part, when people come into Barrel of Monks, they drink 2-to-1 the most quote unquote boring beers we have. I mean, it's not even close. I go through 8 half barrels of Wizard and 8 half barrels of Single and Havana. Those are 2 of my least favorite regular beers to drink on the menu. And I put on a killer IPA and I go through 2 half barrels a month. Because people go and they drink all their drink. So I think the person that's open the bar, remember that the normal consumer, I know sometimes I get shit for this, but the everyday consumer, the casual consumer, is going to be less of an explorer than you want them to be. So you have to make sure you have things that give them comfort, make them feel smart, like they know things, and foster that kind of consistency that they're going to be looking for every time they go back.
You turned into a robot for a little bit there, but
Oh, did I?
Yeah, but like it was one of the not as bad robot moments that I feel like we've had on this show before. Um, it mostly all came through and made sense. So we'll see in the recording how that comes through. Person who is now listening to me talk about said thing that happened. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. Mystery. Um, so how about we go into last calls then and get that going. The point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beverage related or not. The only rules is that it is uninterrupted, unopposed, and unobjected. And with this, we will start with Kevin.
Jon Moxley is a professional wrestler. He currently wrestles for AEW and used to wrestle for the WWE. I recently heard a quote from Jon Moxley, who I used to actually respect a great deal and who, in some ways, I've kind of lost a lot of respect for over the years. But it's not really about Jon Moxley, but it's just it's a jumping off point for an idea and a concept that he talked about. Recently, he had a quote where he basically said, "You shouldn't have a plan B." If you have a plan, and I'm paraphrasing, by the way, the overall idea was that if you have a plan B, you won't be successful because you need to put everything possible into your dream to grab it and hold it and succeed. And there couldn't be a more stupid fucking thing in the world to tell another human being. Because this idea that we have this one dream that we should be striving for our whole lives, and somehow if we don't make that dream, we've failed, is toxic in a profound way. If you are trying to be a professional wrestler or a professional baseball player, you want to own the most successful brewery. I believe that hard work, and as much hard work and effort as you can put into something like that, is supremely important. You have to put in the time and effort to succeed at anything. But if you're going to open up a brewery and say, I have no plan B, I put my entire life savings in this business, I put my heart and soul into it, I worked 80 hours a week, and if I just do that, there's no doubt that I'll succeed. Bullshit. You know how insulting that is to the millions of people who put every ounce of their energy, their intelligence, their talent into a business and failed miserably? Is it because they didn't work hard enough? Fuck you. I know people who have worked their asses off and put everything into their field and have failed. And if they've put everything on the line, what does that do to your family? If you have to work 80 hours a week to be successful, did you spend time with your kid? Were you a good partner to your spouse? Plan Bs are the most important thing to happen in life. The most important thing you can do for yourself. If you're planning on being a Major League Baseball player and you have no plan B, well, I'm just going to succeed because I'm going to want it more. There's a lot of people who have wanted it more, and a lot of them are selling used cars right now. And selling used cars is a perfectly respectable position to have. But having a plan B and getting an education or setting yourself up to do something else if it doesn't work out is intelligent, and you're actually playing the odds. Only so many people are going to succeed at their dream. But you know what? I got a lot of dreams. Maybe I'm unique, but I don't think so. I had dreams of being a Major League Baseball player. That was never going to happen. I'm slow and unathletic. I could have put every fiber of myself into it, and I never would have even been able to play college baseball. Period. I put the time in. Basketball, even more so. I put the time in. I spent every waking hour for years and years shooting baskets. I was never going to play in the NBA. Doesn't matter. Even looking at my brewery, whose success has been up and down, I put all my time and energy into it. 2-3 years from now, there's no guarantee it's going to be around. But see, I have other dreams. I want to be a good father. I want to provide financially for my family. I want to have friends. I want to have a life. I want to be 60 or 70 years old and not have to work my fingers to the bone being a greeter at Walmart because I didn't plan accordingly with my finances. I want to sit around with my friends and enjoy their company. That is a dream that's a hell of a lot more important than being a professional wrestler playing in the NBA. It's an attainable dream that we can actually all realize if we plan accordingly and have realistic expectations for ourselves. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try your ass off. It doesn't mean you shouldn't put your all into everything. I feel like I have. I have succeeded way beyond my wildest dreams. And maybe I'm just a loser who never attained the fame and success that I could have if I just wanted it a little, if I just tried a little bit harder. But there's only ever going to be so many people who play in the NBA. There's only ever going to be so many movie stars. There's only ever going to be so many billionaires on the planet. If you want to be one of those, you're probably a bad person. And that's just the way it is. So have a plan B, make realistic expectations and goals for yourself, and be willing to quit when things just aren't realized. That is a healthy way to live your life. And this all or nothing attitude is fucking stupid. Mike?
Hear, hear. I want to talk about a person who has been talked about in last calls a few times on this podcast. He's been talked about not in last calls on this podcast. This person's name is Michael Schur. He is a writer and producer of director, actor of acclaimed television shows that both Kevin and I are big fans of, such as The Good Place, Parks and Recreation. Kevin more so on the Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I haven't really gotten into watching that yet. But he's also a really big sports fan. He has a baseball podcast called The Poscast that he does with Joe Posnanski, a former writer of Sports Illustrated. He has done the podcast for The Good Place, the companion podcast that went along with that as well. He used to run a baseball blog called Fire Joe Morgan back in the early 2000s and wrote under the pseudonym Ken Tremendous. When I listen to Michael Schur talk, this guy is insanely brilliant and creative. But what this guy also is a believer in human beings, other human beings around him. He has all the creativity and skills and knowledge to be a control freak who thinks that they are the best thing to have ever happened to television and entertainment. Yet, anytime you hear that guy talk, he wants to talk about the other people who work with him, the people who make things happen, who he says are so much more brilliant than him. And it started with the Good Place podcast and how that guy tried to create a working environment for people that grew creativity, that grew confidence in people, and didn't make them feel like, no, you can't do that. I didn't say to do that. Like, he allowed creative people to have leash and to do their creative things. And hearing him just continue to talk more and more. He talks about baseball. He talks about life in general. Like, this guy gets it. He understands that in order to run a business, people run your business. People will always be the ones who run your business. It's not just you. It is other people. And making them happy, giving them a safe and creative workspace to be able to be themselves and to grow is ultimately so important. And I I tell you, like we've talked about, you should go watch the show The Good Place. If you haven't done that, please go do that. But if you have done that, go listen to the Good Place Companion podcast, especially the episodes that Michael Schur is a guest on, because he's not on all of them. But when he is on there and he talks about the people that he works with, it's sometimes more entertaining to me than them talking about the episode that they're doing. But how much he loves working with the people that he works with, and just how incredible of a boss he is. He's someone that anyone who is in a leadership position should idolize and should listen to, because this guy has created amazing stuff with amazing people, and everyone wants to keep on coming back to work with him. Uh I feel like people in the brewing industry could take notes from that. People in restaurant industries, tech industries, fucking dry cleaning. Like, listen to him, and especially on how he loves his employees and wants to take care of his employees. And I need you to do that. So please listen to Michael Schur talk about how much he loves working with people, and apply that to your own lives.
I feel like your outro on that was very similar to a Mark on the Place podcast.
Probably. Kevin,
no.
you want to?
I just commented on your thing. I'm sorry. I apologize.
How dare you?
I'm thrown off because there's only two of us, so I felt like I had to get something in there. Were you going to ask me if I have anything to plug?
I was.
All right. We still have some Breaking the Silence Pale Ale, which I'm currently drinking right now over at the brewery. If you are local to South
You're
Florida,
over at the brewery drinking this right now?
Sure. Is that what I said? I don't know. Listen,
your wording was like,
we still have some beer at the brewery, Breaking the Silence Pale Ale, that supports Survive First Foundation. Excuse me, a foundation that raises money for mental health care for first responders. Not much left. We're going to cut a check for basically all the 6-packs and draft that we sell until we sell it out. So I'd really appreciate people to come by and check it out. I'm really proud of the beer. Ralph did a great job on it. And it's one of those things we talked about earlier on in this episode about supporting local charities. This is it. This is what we want to do. Between this and making strides against breast cancer, that's the two big charities that we want to support now going forward every year. We're going to make Breaking the Silence again next year. And we want to make it a thing, not just because we want to be associated with a charity and good for us, but because we know that the money goes to a good place, and it's also a really, really good beer. So that's going on. And also we've got another beer coming out very soon, Simulated Summer IPA. It's a kind of session IPA. I know that word doesn't really use as much anymore, but it's a beer we've done a couple times in the past. It will be out in early August. It's an IPA that Ralph Renault made. So it's going to be really, really good. So once again, if you're local, come in, check it out.
So I want to be clear on something. You said that you guys are going to keep on cutting checks until that beer is gone. People, don't go buy that beer right now, because they will keep on cutting checks to that charity. Or just buy a very small amount. Don't let them run out, because they'll keep on giving to the charity.
By one can at a time. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. That's 2 times where I don't think I said a thing that you said that I thought that I said. Did I say that you said that you thought that I said? I'm not sure.
I have also had the Simulated Summer in previous years and very much enjoy that beer. I think I do not get down to your brewery nearly as often as I wish I could, and by that I mean I probably get down once a year. But like, Ralph knows how to make really good IPAs, and yes, that beer's just so fucking good. He held up a Waypoint can. It is a go-to beer when I go to my local Flanagan's because they have it on draft. One time I gave Kevin shit because were out of it on draft and I had to buy a can, and I was like, made me buy a can like a peasant. But that's one of the most tasty IPAs out there, like for real. Um,
And
what
that
do
means
I?
it. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to cut off, and I just want to say this to you now, documented. But I know that you don't blow smoke up my ass for anything. As close of friends we are, you would never over exaggerate your enjoyment of a beer. So for Ralph, who's probably listening to this, that's 100% genuine. I'm like saying that, and I really appreciate it. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, a few months back, like the first time that I went to a Flanagan's in probably 20 years, uh, and had one. It was probably the first time I'd had a Waypoint since one of your first batches. And I texted you and I texted Ralph separately and was like, fucking fantastic. Like, it's such a good beer. And I hope for great success on that beer for you guys. Um, do I want to plug anything? I didn't even fucking think about that. Uh, or maybe I did and I just forgot.
We switched
Um,
places. I never plug anything, and you're all fine, and now we switched.
yeah, go Birds, go Phils. Yeah, we'll go with that. If you would like to support our show, head over to our website, unitedwedrink.com, and check out the Brands We Love page. And there's a number of things there. If you click on the links and buy something, we get a little bit of a kickback from that. Especially go to Trade Coffee, cold brew season. If you sign up for a cold brew subscription, they will send you a free cold brew maker for in your house, so you can get the beans and make cold brew right in your house and have it in your fridge. I love having cold brew right in my own fridge. That's fucking awesome. We also have our store, unitedwedrink.com/store, shirts, buttons, stickers, totes, all that fun jazz. We'll be back here in a couple weeks with another new episode. Tim should be back from assignment then. We'll get the news on what he was covering. I believe it's some really hard hitting journalistic stuff.
He had to go deep underground for this one. It's good. Whatever he comes back with is juice. Man.
I'm not going to say that it's the Epstein files, but it's not the Epstein files. Cheers.
Cheers.